All of us have battles, and maybe they are not, national wars, but sometimes the internal wars that we're facing in our own personal lives can be just as intense. And today's reading really addresses those concerns. Today's day 131, reading from 2 Samuel 10 and 1 Chronicles 19, along with Psalms 20. Psalms 20 tells us a powerful consideration. Some trust in chariots and some trust in horses, but we will remember the name of the Lord our God. It's easy to be confident when you have the advantage, when it's a sure win, whatever you're confronted with in life. Our prayers then can be short and often given with little thought and just a little, hey, Lord, bless me, as if we can handle it ourselves. But yeah, we'll tag that on just so that God knows that we are trusting in him. And after all, we can handle this one. I'm talking about those battles that we feel that we're able to handle because it doesn't take much faith. But what about when you drastically are outnumbered and outmaneuvered and outperformed and maybe outskilled, as in the case with David and his army? Our prayers might be a little bit more intense, and we understand the petitions of David in which the word cry out is used so many times in the book of Psalms. David, with the best of intent, he seeks to confront the King Hanan. He wants to comfort him because his father has just died, and his father was very kind to David, and so David seeks to bless him. But there's only this problem. The fact is that the influencers of the king, his counselors, are paranoid, and they cry foul. And they accuse David of ill purpose, and they convince Hanan that Israel means their harm. They're there to spy out the land. And there's nothing like being misunderstood or misrepresented, but especially when your character is being questioned, as in the case with David. So David sends some men to with this blessing and to bring comfort to the king. But Hanan, he curses instead of receiving the blessing, and he humiliates and he embarrasses David's men and sends them back. Well, this, of course, David comes to their defense because this was an act against not just these men, but against the king and against the entire nation. So David retaliates. And Joab, his commander-in-chief, gathers all of the army fighting men together. They're talented, and yes, they're good, but probably not of the skill of the opposing enemy with tens of thousands opposing troops. And so I like what Joab says. I think he's not taking anything for granted, and he's addressing the reality of the Ammonites and the Syrians, that they are a vast army of people, and they're coming out against him. And he looks to his troops and he says to them, be of good courage. Let's be strong for our people and for the cities of our God. And I like this when he says, and may the Lord do what is right in his sight. Have you ever been in a situation where you might not have known what is the will of God? You weren't sure or certain of his divine direction for your life? And yet, how often, even as Jesus prayed it, not my will, but your will be done, how many times that we ourselves have had to simply say to God, God, we don't know what your will in this matter might be, but may your will be done as it is in heaven. Well, this was the petition that was given. And of course, they soundly defeated both the Ammonites and the Syrians, and they ran away, and God received the glory. Well, what can we say to all of this? That what we read about in Psalms 20 is applicable not only to what was in David's life, but for us as well. Some trust in chariots and some trust in horses, but we will remember the name of the Lord our God. I don't know what you're facing today, what battles raging all around you, how you've been misunderstood, misrepresented, and how what you meant or intended for good has been interpreted for evil. But if we could remember that the outcome, when we dedicate our life to God, is in the hands of God Almighty, and we are able to say, the will of the Lord be done, then we can also refer and say, let's not by might, not by power, but by your Spirit. And we're not going to trust in horses and chariots. but we're going to trust in the name of the Lord our God.